Good evening, listeners. Welcome to episode 64 of the 2P's in a pod. Good evening, Ben. You all right?
I am, thank you very much.
Good, good. I've remembered to say good evening to you this time. Normally I get halfway through the intro. So tonight we go on to the hobby desk. Ben has been working on plenty of characters and Space Wolves, and I've done a bit more of the game that I'm definitely not collecting in the form of Star Wars Legion. And then we go into the Galaxy of War, a nice swift shoot through the Galaxy of War tonight, just covering off the latest bits and bobs that we've seen before we head into the Mortal Realms, where it is all going down. Because earlier today we watched the preview, or saw the preview, of a ton of new models, all of which we want. So we chat our way through that. Quite enjoyable, that section. And then into the community, where we do some awesome shout outs, and finally into the wilds, where we hear a little bit about Ben's love of aliens. Now read into that what you will. Guys, you know what to do. Grab some refreshments and we will see you on the hobby desk.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 64, and we're on the hobby desk, and this time it's just Dan and I, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
It's me, you, and two French fancies. Read into that what you will. If you're listening to this and you're not from the UK and you don't know that a French fancy is a small cake, you may be wondering what is going on, especially when I start eating them and the sounds I make. Ooh, missus. Right then. So while I firmly try and get rid of our PG status in my opening lines of the evening, how is your hobby going, Ben?
It's going grand. It's going grand. It's been a little bit tight because I haven't got the energy in the evenings that I have done for the last month or so, for various reasons, but so I'm not doing quite so many hours as I was, but I've got a nice little routine going now, so things are starting to move forward quite well. So I'm still getting enough hobby time on the Sunday to get a character done, which I'm really
that's good, isn't it? That's nice.
So since we recorded last, I finished Rockfist.
Yeah,
and in the end, I think he turned out all right. Actually, well, I think the cake started to come together when I weathered the armor, and then it all of the little kind of imperfections across it sort of made it look like weathering. Then,
yeah,
well,
I thought he turned out really well, actually. Considering your concerns, I thought he came out really well.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed doing the hammer because I had to rebuild the hammer handle. It was just rubbish. I don't have the skill to sculpt, or didn't have the skill to sculpt, like the hammer wrap, the handle wrap on it. So it ended up just being a smooth pole. And I decided that I was going to do it like just a bar of metal and keep it really kind of like simple and robust. But then I thought it'd be quite cool to make it look like it was made out of like some kind of special obsidian, like it's a like black, shiny, but with seams of like fire running through it. So the sort of thing that you would find in like a Fenrisian volcano. Because it's one of the cool things about that often gets forgotten about the Space Force is that and we alluded to this in the last episode, is that there's a lot of fire on Fenris. So there's literally a season called the fire season where the volcanic eruptions are so dramatic and overwhelming that all the sort of land masses shift.
Hasn't it got like an elliptical orbit around its sun or something?
Yes, yeah, I think so.
So it's like it spends a bit of time like ridiculously close, and all the craziness goes down, and then it goes off into space. So it's because the Spacels were constantly drawn to the Eye of Terror and with a desire to go there. So like they go around the sun and then they go, oh come on, we're getting there. Oh no, we're coming back, and the Emperor draws them back. So now they must be going mental because there's a whole flipping cicatrix maledictum. So
you done?
Yeah, I'm good. Carry on.
Got that out of your system early on.
Yeah, got that out. Yeah.
So what I did is I normally do my runes like cold, so blues and occasionally pale purples. But these ones I did really warm, so oranges. So the whole hammer looks like it's come from the heart of a volcano. And then I contrasted that with blue runes on his shield to give that kind of fire and ice thing again. So I was really happy with how he turned out, actually, having fretted a little bit about him.
You're loving your fire and ice. Anyone would think you were into Game of Thrones at the moment.
I'm not.
No.
And then I've been still in the background working on the most current batch, which is the 10 Wolfguard Terminators, the 10 Assault Intercessors, the 5 Swift Claws, a Dreadnought, and 5 Wolfguard in power armor. I've decided while I've been doing those that I'm probably going to add a squad of 5 Wolfguard with Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields, or some form of power weapons and Storm Shields and jump packs, to have like a really fast moving, like really hard hitting unit. Because I love playing with those kind of, and I just think that a Wolfguard pack doing that would be brilliant.
I was just thinking about this. We were talking the other day, weren't we, about having like a Canis Wolfborn wing, as it were. Yes.
So, and thankfully, actually today, the Thunderwolf Cavalry seem to be back in stock everywhere. So, Games Workshop have obviously gone and built some, which is great. Thank you very much. Because I've only got 3 in Ragnar's company, and I've been toying with the idea of how many Thunderwolves you would, because this is where I get stuck. Now, how many Thunderwolves would a typical company have? And my mind tells me somewhere between sort of maybe 3 for the more mechanized companies, up to like 9 for normal companies, or 6 to 9 for normal companies, and then Harold Deathwolf being more like in the region of sort of 20-ish. So
the thing is, James Cheesewright recently bought like 8 boxes of Deathwing Terminators in one go. So you have to redress the Dark Angel Space Wolf purchasing balance, because there's a ripple through reality that's created. So you now need to go and buy 8 boxes of Thunderwolves just to sort of redress the balance.
So one of the things I was thinking is actually I'd probably like more than 9 Thunderwolves, just because I think they would look awesome. Just no other reason. So then I thought it would be cool to have just Harold Deathwolf. And this all comes from the fact that I've got Canis Wolfborn, and I can't really work out why Canis Wolfborn would be just sort of in Ragnar's company on his own. You know, especially as he can barely talk. He communicates in growls and farts, as far as I can work out. And so
is that why you've got like an affinity with him?
Yeah. So I figured that it would be quite cool to have, because I've got Harold, because why wouldn't you buy the Space Wolf on a Wolf Lord on a Thunderwolf? And I got Canis. So then I thought, well, I could have like another 9 Thunderwolves to go with him, and then I'd have like a nice little sort of 18 strike. So if I wanted to field like a proper Thunderwolf army, but then my brain went another place and figured, wouldn't it be cool to do a conversion of Ragnar Blackmane on a Thunderwolf, and build him just as a Wolf Lord on a Thunderwolf? Use that stat set, or Harold Deathwolf stat set, so that he could ride into battle on a Thunderwolf. But I wouldn't. What I'm thinking of doing that then I went with, if I get Harold Deathwolf's model, I've always quite liked the idea of the Wolf Lord standing in the middle with the Thunderwolf sort of stalking around him, like in a circle, because the Deathwolf's Thunderwolf is really curved. It looks like it's sort of turning around. So then I thought, rather than sort of building a new one, I could just sort of build Ragnar's base so it would slot into like a bigger base with this big wolf on. Yeah, so that's where I'm at, and I'm really quite excited about that, actually. So
there's a few ideas then.
There's a few ideas in my head about it. Yeah. So they're coming on really nicely, that batch I'm working on at the moment. I've just finished doing the Agrax Earthshade wash over the metals and the golds and the yellow. Not over the. I don't like completely washing yellow. I kind of line in with the yellow because you don't. Otherwise, you just got more to go over when you start building the colour back up.
Yeah.
And the furs are all done. So now I'm currently doing like the lining in with the armour, because I've airbrushed the armour and just sort of panel lining in with Space Wolf Grey contrast. And then I've got a 50-50 Drakenhof Nightshade Nuln Oil mix, where I literally just got 2 pots and poured them into one. And I use that for like the fine lining in, like the panel lining, where I really want it nice and sort of sharp and dark.
Yeah.
I was just saying to you before we came on air that once I've done the yellow, then there really is not much left to do with them. It will go very, very quickly from that point onwards. So I'll have finished them probably 8 weeks ahead of where I was hoping to, which is fingers crossed, which is a big chunk taken out. And I can move on to things because the things that are taking the time with these are the Terminators, because they're absolutely covered in.
Yeah.
They just...
Haven't you finished one? Was that a Terminator Lord or just the Wolfguard, like the Sergeant that you showed me?
Yeah. So the one I finished this weekend after Rockfist was a Wolf Lord that I built because at the time when I was building my Space Wolves, I'd kind of decided or thought I wasn't going to do Ragnar's company. But then I read Ragnar Blackmane's book again, and I was like, why am I not doing that? Because he was the first one to copy it. So why? So he kind of fell out of favour with me because I didn't quite know what to do with him. You know, he just sort of was just massively overdone model. But since I've built him, and over the last couple of months, I've taken things like the Indomitus Captain and converting them up so that they're not really a Wolf Lord. They're like the senior Wolf Guard. So like Ragnar's literal right-hand man. So what I've made the Terminator Lord is the same person as the Indomitus Captain, Yarnolf. So he's sort of the next guy in line. So if it were to split the company in two, it would be Yarnolf that would lead the other half, because I couldn't find a name for anyone who fills that role in any of the background, particularly. Kind of changes a lot. So I've done it so it's him before and after he crossed the Rubicon.
I like that. And so I really liked the cloak. Like it looked like you were starting to play around with textures.
Yeah, on the inside, yeah. So one of the things I've been doing over the last 6 months, year is playing with cloth texture a little bit more, and building it up so that it looks less like it's flat, and more like it's woven, because I love when people do different textures on different surfaces. It just adds so much to break the model up. And so I've done that on his banner, and I've done that on his cloak. I was really happy with how his cloak turned out, actually, because that was built up with loads of layers of... I didn't want to overdo it and do vertical and horizontal lines or diagonal lines. So I just did horizontal lines, and then built that up as I was highlighting it, and then glazed it back and then sort of re-strengthen the highlights. And I wanted to keep it quite dark, and I think that helped it work quite well. So I was really happy with that. Glad you noticed, actually.
No, it looked good. I liked it.
And then the final thing I've been doing is sort of toying and fiddling together Ragnar. So I've got all the bits for him now. I still haven't managed to find a Ragnar Blackmane, the old Ragnar Blackmane in Finecast on eBay. So I'm stuck now with how to do his left shoulder pad. So I think I'm probably just going to sculpt it. I sculpted it before when I did my Primaris conversion for Ragnar.
Yeah.
So I think I'll probably be able to do it again a bit better, because I know with that one, some of the mistakes I made on it, I hid with sculpting the cloak over the top of it.
Right.
Because I'm a bit more comfortable with that kind of texture. But I'm not going to be able to do that with this one. So I'm going to take it, because when I sculpted it on the Primaris one, it was stuck on the shoulder when I sculpted it. This time I'm going to blue tack it down onto a surface and sculpt it away from it, so I can make sure it's perfectly symmetrical and get it absolutely right. Yeah, and then the only other question with him is whether I do the back banners, and I just cannot make my mind up. I cannot make my mind up. I think that's going to be a decision I'll make about 15 seconds before I undercoat him.
Yeah.
The reason is I can't find two decent plastic banners to do it with, and I know a really good solution is the Corsair's back banner. That's the one that Tommy Saul used for his, but none of the bit sites are selling it, so I'm kind of a bit like
the Corsairs, the Dark Elf Corsairs.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because it's not great to the detail, and what details on it you can easily cut away, and it's the right sort of shape, and it's got a lot of mobility in it. As in, it looks nice and sort of flappy.
Yeah, well, that's what you need.
And a flag. Yeah,
a flappy flag.
A flappy flag. So tomorrow I'm going to probably break away the Dreadnought, and rather than do a character, try and take him up to being finished. Which may be, I figure, is about the same sort of amount of time at this stage. So, we'll see. I'm quite excited about that. It'll be my first sort of vehicle-sized unit for the non-Primaris army.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not true. The storm thingy, Stormfang.
Oh yeah.
I keep forgetting about that because it's in a box somewhere else. Yeah, so there we go. That's me.
Well, I haven't done anything like as much as I'd hoped because I've been busy with work. I've been working a lot and family and stuff. So life has conspired to reduce my painting output. But I have done a couple of things. So I have finished off the Imperial Death Troopers expansion box for Legion. So they were quite cool because they're
the black ones, aren't they?
They're the black ones, yeah.
From Rogue One.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So basically, I think I might have said last time actually, I had Luke and some commandos, and I thought, I better get a bad guy and some dudes. So I got Krennic and some Death Troopers. So the Death Troopers are completely black, so that was interesting in as much as just trying to make them, black dudes with black guns. But
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is Krennic inhabit the same timeline as Luke?
Now, hang on, Rogue One. Not as... So, I can't remember when, in the films, what happens to Krennic, if I'm honest. Because obviously, at the time of Rogue One, when they're stealing the plans...
No, he dies, doesn't he, on
Scarif.
On the planet, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But, artistic license. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to end up with Vader anyway. So... I just fancied painting Krennic because it's a cool model. So,
Vader would have Death Troopers as well. I mean, really.
Oh, of course he would. Yeah, of course he would. So, I'm trying to stay away from too much highlighting and stuff with the Legion stuff. I'm trying to create 2 gaming armies, I suppose. But I had to do some highlighting with these guys because otherwise it just looked like I'd sprayed them black and left them at it. So I did, I washed them. I went over them with Black Templar, and then I went over the armor panels with Abaddon Black, thinned down, just to get a bit of difference, and then highlighted those panels and did their eyes, green eyes and stuff. And then I satin varnished them, which gives them a nice sheen, which is appropriate for them, and did their bases. I've just started doing this weird thing. I did it with all the corn stuff I was working on last year, where I get halfway through and then I finish the base because it just feels like I've made this big step forward because I've done the base, and then go back in and do the finishing touches.
I suppose the only thing that would stop me from doing that on a model like that is that you've very specifically done a finish in the armor, and then I would want the basing to go on top of that finish.
Yeah. So I'd already done
the satin coat.
Yeah.
So
so I did those, and then I started on Krennic, and this doesn't happen to me very often, but I saw a mold line and I thought, I can live with that. And then it sort of flowed into another mold line and another, and I was like, what the was I drunk when I did this guy? And basically it's I've noticed it on a couple of them. The mold lines you can't really see them until you undercoat the model, and then they're like, ding, hello. So I ended up I thought I'll scrape a bit off here. Yeah, I can fix that. I'll scrape it. In the end, I scraped it off so much. I'm just going to go back and just get the airbrush out again and go over those bits again, because it's just daft. The only thing I'm a little uncertain of is I would normally use isopropanol to take the paint off, but this plastic is slightly softer. The plastic used on the Legion models. I'd rather he didn't end up looking like a miniature hut by the time I finished stripping the paint off it. It's all just melted. But yeah, so I've got to do that.
Have you got a sprue? You got a sprue set? Does it come on sprues, or does it come off of sprues?
He is not on a sprue, no.
I just wonder if you had a piece of plastic you could stick in a bit of isopropyl and see.
I have got some, because I've also, for the game that I'm not collecting, just bought the heavy weapon emplacement for the Empire and the heavy emplacement for the Rebellion, which is huge, by the way. It's like a massive disc laser, which I like. But they come with troopers for snow for Hoth.
Yeah.
I'm sure I said this last time, but basically I found online some STLs to print troopers that are just like more normal. So, because I'm going to do these 2 armies on desert bases. Yeah. So I didn't really want snow dudes done out in snow trooper gear to go on in the desert. Although I have seen some people paint them up like deserty, and it's not so bad actually. But so I've got the original crew with no guns, so yeah. I can always use a bit of that just to check. But yeah, it's interesting as well, because it's like the laser is really hard plastic, like toy plastic. A bit like, when Games Workshop went through that period where the scenery was like insanely hard.
Yeah.
Bop people over the head with it.
Almost like a resin.
Yeah, and it's so... But that's fine. I mean, it's done that. It's got an awful bloody great join line right up through the flipping middle of the not the laser itself, but the bit underneath it. So just let that dry, and then I'll have to fill that bit. Otherwise I'll be sad. So yeah, a bit frustrated really that Krennic sort of stalled partway through. So I need to sort of restart him. And I have got all my sort of month 2 Nurgle built and undercoated and ready to go. But I'm gonna sell all them and do Lumineth now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, not a lot of hobby, unfortunately. But such is life. It's difficult at the moment because Joshy's not at school and you can't go anywhere. Like where Harriet would kindly like take the children out or something. You know, she's exhausted because she's trying to homeschool like a 4.5-year-old nutter who, you know, goes between being Superman and a pirate. And then also have little Hannah running around as well. So she's knackered. And there's no, you know, she can't take them to her parents or anything. So it's funny. I know we've said this before, but it's a bit like the lockdowns had one of two effects. If you've got children, it's like crazy because now you've just got them even more. And if you haven't, you've got loads of time and you can just do loads of things.
I suspect that's just our perspective as parents.
Oh yeah, of course, that's a sweeping statement and it's a completely ridiculous thing to say, but it is how it feels. Sorry, I've not apologized for the creaky chair. I wanted a comfy chair tonight. Normally I go and sit on like a stool. I need a new chair really, but it's like it's a bit like socks. I don't like buying new socks because I kind of feel like, well, I could spend the money. You know, I could put up with a creaky chair. I can put up with holes in my socks, but I can't put up with not having the miniatures I want. So, yeah.
My chair's a bit creaky, but I've only just bought it, so it's probably because I'm a fatty.
I've had this on for ages. Anyway, now that we're talking about the furniture in our hobby rooms, let's move on to the Galaxy of War. Welcome to the Galaxy of War. I'm drawing out the intro a bit because not a lot has happened in the Galaxy of War in the last 2 weeks. So I thought I'd make the intro nice and long, fill it out a bit. Ben's got very upset about wolves.
Oh, I have. I hadn't noticed that you couldn't buy wolf companions for Ragnar. And you can't.
Because Gazgul's mate boshed them.
Because he got killed when Ragnar got killed. Which I'm sad about on a lot of levels. The fact that they're dead, because they were awesome. And they were in the book, and they were awesome. And the fact that I've also noticing that none of the wolf lords can have wolf companions, which, apart from Grimnar, who has them pulling his chariot. And I'm not sure how... I'm just not happy about that at all.
It's such a shame, isn't it? It is a shame.
I think it's a real shame.
I think it's a real bit of character that's missing.
Because this whole thing led on to, I would like to see the space wolves, be able to buy wolves as a unit upgrade, so that they were spread across an army rather than together in a pack. That you could have them together in a pack, but you could also have them where individual wolves had formed like become part of a space wolf pack. They'd formed a bond within that pack, and because I think that would be really cool.
Yeah,
it would change the whole aesthetic of an army. You know, it would be really, really cool, and then you could play some really sort of. You could choose to have an army like Harold Deathwolf's company is a really good example where. I would then have like multiple units, maybe sort of 2 units of 10 wolves, and kicking on for 15 plus Thunderwolves, and then all of the units of normal Grey Hunters and Bloodclaws, you could have 2 or 3 wolves with each of those. So then you'd have because his whole company's thing is that, that they have lots of wolves. If their area of the Fang is just filled with wolves.
Yeah. I would be. I mean, the thing is, Ragnar's wolves were a lot bigger. But I would be tempted, were it possible, to look at working one onto a base. So my Corn Lord 40k has got the Flesh Hound that's like coming out round past him and stuff, and he can't. There's no rules for Flesh Hound, but it's on his base because it looks cool.
Yeah, I thought it was similar, just to sculpt one, or not sculpt one, to fit one onto his base, because Radicraft has done a great version of a Rune Priest with a sort of etheric wolf behind him in blue. So they obviously do fit. You could fit one onto a 50 something mil base, and Ragnar's actually also quite high.
Yeah, I was going to say he's high up, isn't he?
So you could fit him on a wolf on. I'd probably do it so you could take the wolf on and off.
The other thing that would be quite cool, actually, is if you did another one of the Wolf Guard with the other one. So, like, as if they were both there, but they weren't necessarily they're not right on Ragnar. Like they're just part of the pack. That's quite yeah. That would be a way to incorporate wolves. Actually, that'd be pretty cool.
I'm actually thinking of just incorporating them anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
And they just don't count in anything. They just look cool. And if people want to get upset about it, they can bite me. Basically,
what, the wolves?
Yes. Admittedly, I wouldn't push my luck on a formal tournament or anything. But I think most or everyone I play against would be absolutely fine with it, and I think it would just look awesome. So.
Yeah, it would. Moving on from our concern for the wildlife of Fenris. So today has been Uriel Ventris Day, although you struggled to get hold of him, but you have managed to get one.
Weird. It wasn't on the website for a long time.
No, well, it's the other thing that's odd is it's there now, but when you click pre-order, it just says, sorry, this product is not available.
Yeah, that's what I was having. So I kept trying to shove it in my basket, and it wasn't having any of it. So I've I got the Xenos book because that looks bloody brilliant. And the last sort of book like that I got from Black Library was just stupendous. That was the the Sabbat one. That was just gorgeous.
That's lovely. See, this is where I'm at. It's like, it does look amazing. It looks so good, and I want it on the shelf, but it is £40.
The reason
I'm not saying it's £40 because I don't think it's worth. Of course, it's worth £40. It's a book and it's amazing looking, but it's still a lot of money.
I really regretted not getting the one that they did
the first time round.
Yeah, long time ago. I looked at it about 1,000 times on the shelf while I was working there, and then I came in. This true story. I came in to buy it as I'd made my mind up, and it had gone. Damn it! So this was back in the day when these things were. Black Library wasn't a big, it wasn't a big part of the shops. It was just
So I really regret selling it, which won't surprise
you. You didn't?
Yeah, I'm Nate. You don't even want to go there with the stuff that I've had and sold. So, yeah. So that's why I'm like, I kind of want to get it. Because it does look great. Although the problem I've got at the moment is if I want to buy anything, so Games Workshop are running a competition where it's not really a competition. It's because they've done this thing where your My Warhammer account now.
Yeah.
Is all linked in. So if you go on and link everything together and then go and just put a load of stuff in your cart, they're going to like randomly draw like 5 people.
How much stuff do you have to put in the cart to achieve that, though?
What do you mean?
It just says a full cart.
Yeah, but
So,
they'll give you up to £300 worth of it.
Yeah.
If you win.
So is it anyone who bought anything? That's what I couldn't. Is it anyone who bought anything? Because I couldn't.
You don't have to buy anything. You just put it in your cart. That's what it says.
All right. I got confused, so I just bought the book and walked away.
So unless I've read it wrong, but so anyway, my point was that I've just got loads of stuff in my cart at the moment, so I just want to buy the book, and I keep taking it all back out of the cart. 3 times I've gone in and put the book in my cart and then changed my mind.
I have to say that I don't like passwords. And when it asked me 3 different times for 3 different passwords that Google didn't remember, it was just an ache.
Yeah.
So I had to please email me my password for Warhammer, my Warhammer account, and then sort that out. And then it's like, would you like to link it, or you need to link it to your Games Workshop account? I was like, okay, I'll do that. Please insert your password. I wouldn't remember that. So then I ended up doing 3 emails because of the Forge World account too. So by the time I bought the book, I'd earned it, frankly. The effort involved in getting it was far too much for my liking. Far too much indeed.
So, so the book looks great. Uriel Ventress model.
Is that a head swap?
Has had a head swap. Quite late in the day, he must have been, because he's got the original head on the box art. But, you know, I don't know, actually. I don't know if you feel differently. Either way, I prefer the new head.
I'm slightly indifferent, to be honest. I think there's a lot about the old head I liked. But I think overall, I think the new head probably fits the artwork better. But
did you see what I said to Marcus and Ross? I think the old head looked like he played for the Cornish Pirates.
Yes, it did.
He eaten a lot of pasties and got cauliflower ears.
Yeah,
well, I can talk because I can't sculpt to save my life. So, but yeah, I do prefer the new head. I think it matches the art better, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a nice model. He's a lovely model.
Yeah, I like him. He's going to be.
He's going to be along with Gilliman.
Yeah, be along with Gilliman.
But trouble is, he's the captain of the 4th company, isn't he? So you have to have some 4th friends.
I've got some 4th friends. It's my Battle from the Crag box.
Oh yes, of course. Perfect. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
hang on, though. Oh no, yeah, Battle from the Crag's the one that just had the 10 Marines in, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's isn't it hilarious? Like when you look back at what was in that starter set versus what you get in the starter set now.
Yeah, it was I think it was 15 Gaunts, 8 Gene Stealers, and 10 Space Marines, and scenery.
Was there Gaunts in there? I thought there was just Gene Stealers in there.
Yeah, there was Gaunts. And some poor unfortunate sod carrying the Gene Stealers.
Oh yeah, there was him, and there was the crashed Aquila Lander. Yeah, I really wish Forge World still did the Aquila Lander, because it's come up recently. I'm reading Kane.
Yeah,
I'm into the 2nd trilogy.
It's a great vehicle. I don't know why they stopped doing it. I guess because it's not got rules in the game.
No, well, it did for a while, but it was only armed with like an autocannon. So,
yeah, that's what it's not much of a...
No.
It's more of a narrative thing, isn't it?
If it's not got like a planet-killing laser on the side of it, it's not really Forge World's thing, is it?
I keep wanting to get the Thunderbolt before that. I can't. They'll never get rid of that. They won't, will they? No, they won't. It's too iconic. I thought
so. I mean, they've just put it into Aeronautica, haven't they? So they've kind of locked it down.
I've always loved that thing. Never had the spare hobby time to consider spending that. That's the thing that stops me with things like that. I look at it and think it's worth the money. I'd want it, but I wouldn't paint it. So is it worth getting now? So no, so it gets passed on.
Oh yeah, 10 termagants 6 Gene Stealers.
Yeah.
And 10 Space Marines.
Did you not
Some
believe
cool
me?
scenery. No.
No.
No, I couldn't remember there being gaunts in there. So I thought I'd look it up. And you are correct. Although sort of correct, because you said 15 and 12. So,
8, I think I said.
Did you?
Yeah. I was overestimating the...
I'll go back and edit that back in. So, yeah. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Is there anything else you've noticed for 40k?
No, not really. No. It was just a lot of Age of Sigmar, which we probably ought to get onto because there's a lot of Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, let's do that. Bye. Let's go to the Mortal Realms. We're clearly wanting to get there for that whole segment.
Welcome to the Mortal Realms. Finally, we've chatted through an hour of introduction, and now we're here at the best part of this episode. If you haven't seen the preview, what were you doing?
Yeah, and if you'd rather not, well, not that you'll have been able to be a hobbyist, I think, and have avoided it, but if you'd rather not hear about the preview, you are in the wrong place.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is just bring the preview up on our screens and work our way through it, and talk about what parts of it we like and don't like, and if there is anything we don't like. I mean, it's probably the best preview, I personally think. And
yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And quantity as well. So yeah, it was brilliant. So. The Lumineth burned brighter. Woo! Now, obviously, we knew there was a load of Lumineth stuff coming because it was in a video last time, or another time. But do you know what I do like about? I'll just say this straight off the bat. I like about this preview. It was all Mortal Realms.
Yeah,
and I think I quite like that style of having, have a preview for Mortal Realms and have a preview for 40k and so on and so forth. So anyway, first up. Venari Blade Lords.
Yeah.
So these are the guys that I wanted when they did the Hammer guys. Now we've got these guys as well, and I'm happy that there are both.
Yeah, love them.
Absolutely. They are so good, aren't they? I'm glad you like them.
There's little bits about them I absolutely love. So the guy who's kind of striding forward and one of his sword hands is open. I don't know if that is... It just implies movement with the sword rather than being static, and I love it. They look like they're moving. They all look like they're moving their weapons, apart from the guy with the banner. I think it's just his back banner, but the guy with him braced in both hands and he's sort of standing forward. Yeah, he's the only one who looks static. The rest of them are just fab, absolutely.
I really like the enclosed helms.
Yes, I do.
It gives that slightly more sinister sort of lethality feeling to them.
Yeah.
And I also like the little bits of mail or scale.
Yes.
Sorry.
Now the scale is the only thing that I take that I don't like about it. Actually, not the scale that's been there, that is there. I like the scale that is there. I'd like to see more of it on the thighs. And I've got good reason for that, is that they're really heavily armoured in their top half, which doesn't make a great deal of sense to not be heavily armoured in the bottom half. Now, if the argument is they would move faster without it, then I can see that point of view. But all they've got there is a piece of scale mail protecting their nutsack. And I think that realistically, I'd like to have seen some on their thighs. It makes sense for the spearmen not to have it on their thighs because they've got their shield, and then the rest of their upper armor would be heavy because they're sticking outside. The Greeks did a lot of that kind of stuff with armor, but wearing shin guards because they were sticking out. So them having knee guards and the lower leg armor and then no thigh armor made a lot of sense. But I would like to have seen a bit of armor on their legs, but that is just me being super picky and looking for something to witter about, because I'm so happy with them. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, they're ace. I love them too, man. I love them too. So
big unit of 10 of those, like sliding across the battlefield, would just look.
The problem, and I say it now, with this set of releases, is that it has basically ticked all the boxes that were part of my high elf army that we hadn't had yet.
Yeah.
And that's not good, basically.
No.
But anyway, because the problem I would have is there's so much going on these models, and I'm like constantly on this like quest to paint things faster and faster and faster, and I just can't see it with these. But anyway, that's not to worry about that. Let's get on to this bolt thrower, because it looks great. And it's got shields. Did you I knew you didn't watch the preview. I know that. I had it running while I was working, and it was... so I don't... It's got these little things. You see the little, like, stakes in the ground?
Yeah.
That are around it. They are like a force field thing that protects them.
Sweet.
So they are like the elven equivalent of a palisade.
That's brilliant.
It's great, isn't it?
I love the bolt dispenser as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's ace. Actually, yeah, it's only just dawned on me that is like dispensing them down to the bottom there. Yeah, that's cool. They're loving their helmets, aren't they? They are fully into helmets, these guys. Crazy helmets.
I kind of think that you can get away with it as an elf, because I almost imagine that as almost like a bone structure with like no weight at all to it. You know? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And they obviously fit in with the
archers, yeah.
The archers and the spearmen, because they've still got the like bull on the front, haven't they? On that shield, and the 3 strings as well. The way the bow is strung is really cool, because that fits in with them, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Oh, I really like that shield thing. I didn't actually manage to get to watch the preview, because it's been my little girl's birthday today, so I didn't get to watch it. So I just read the article. Very nice.
So next up is one of my absolute standouts. I think this is so good. The piece of scenery.
Yeah, but it's a floating rock, so you're always going to love it.
Exactly. I know. So yeah, it's like a mystical pool, so your mage can go in there. And
what I liked about it is the way the Every Metal team have used blue as the shade on what is just a standard rock color, and I'm thinking it's probably Carrick Stone is the base coat, and then they shaded it with blue, and it just works so well.
It does, doesn't it?
It still looks like stone, but it looks really elven.
Yeah,
really, really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lovely counterpoint to the Lunar Shrine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like as with all the rocks and stuff. Yeah, it's ace. Obviously it's got the 2 waterfalls at the front holding it up, and then another rock or something at the back there.
That
you can't quite see. I think want to cast the waterfalls out of lead, and then you wouldn't need that back one.
You could always stick it on a big base.
Yeah, that's true.
And take away and replace it with maybe like a bit of see-through plastic.
It's got like little bonsai looking trees on it as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the things I've loved about a lot of the Lumineth is the little bonsais.
It put me in mind of the white tree from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
those little trees. Shrine Luminor, purify even the most corrupt of battlefields.
Do they just sort of float it along with them? Do they like just drag the floating shine?
Yeah, I think so.
Just push it along.
There's I don't know if it could move actually in the game, but they didn't say that, but it did. They were talking about like on the stream. They were talking about how like the Lumineth are all about the elements, and how like you'd be facing them and you'd have like the wind and stuff, and it would be, you know, all part and parcel of holding all this stuff up and magic, and I was just loving it. I think it sounds great. Obviously, whopping great corn symbol and paint that stuff as blood.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
So, right, heroes. There are some corkers in here. Absolute corkers. So let's have a look. I can't remember all of their names.
No, I've got them on my phone, so we can. I'll pick them. I'll get them out for us. So
yeah, so you need to find the first guy, because
he is Lyrior Uthral.
Yeah,
Warden of Emetrica.
So what they said was he is the right hand of Teclis, of Tyrion.
Yeah,
of Tyrion, basically. He looks great, doesn't he? He is like classic elf lord taken to the max.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they said he was on. It's
a whooping llama.
A whooping llama, yeah. It was something like a light something. It was. I can't remember. Anyway, he looks ace. Really like him. What I really liked is how often they said the words Tyrion during this preview, because that would be a great bookend. You know, Teclis at the beginning, Teclis' shizzle, Tyrion shizzle, Tyrion, and that is really, really, really shown in the next one up, which is the twins. The twins.
Yeah. So they are called. Give me a second.
Eliana and Elithor.
Yeah, Eliana and Elithor.
Yeah. So that little owl is ace.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And I love how she's so reminiscent of Teclis with the staff and stuff. And then he down there with the sword and the sun over there's like the sun thing at the back of him there.
Yeah. That model is just stupendous. I think it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I just gives me the shivers looking at it. When I think about transport.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? It's like another concept that we've seen. So, because there was the Slaneshi guy, which was like a giant guy with a demonette on his back or something, wasn't there?
Yeah. That's true, actually. I hadn't really thought about that.
So that's good, isn't it?
I love his stance as well. I'm trying to remember what that stance is called. I think it's
I'm gonna kill you stance.
I think it's called the window guard, but I'm not sure. I think his hips are twisted in the wrong direction for that.
So next up is going to be a battle sister leaping over the back of a space marine. Yes,
that would be good, wouldn't it? No, the next up is another swords master.
Yeah. And, so this. Go on. Sorry. Go on.
No, you go ahead. I was just going to say his name. Scanari Lawseeker.
Yeah. So he. They said this in the stream, but as soon as I saw him, I was like, "That is a reimagining of the Lawmaster."
Yeah.
And yeah, because he's got Teclis' staff, and then he's got the sword, and he just looks like he's gonna kill you. And again, he's got the full helm going on, which looks quite sinister. Similar, he does look like he harkens back. You could see him having a bodyguard of all them Venari Dawnblade guys.
The thing I really love about this model is that it looks epic and dynamic from this angle, but you can tell by the way the sword and the staff looks that it's going to look even better when you can see it in 3D.
Yeah.
There's just going to be so much movement going on.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. Absolutely.
It is really good, isn't it? It's really nice. Then we got the Lantern Man.
The Lantern Man.
Yeah.
Scanari Calligrave.
Now, there's something
Scanari.
very special about him that I wanted to point out and get your commentary on.
What I found interesting about these, and I'm going to bring this up before, is that they have the same. Before you talk, so maybe you can answer it when you talk, because, like I said, I didn't see it. Is they have the same prefix, the Scenari. So this one being the Scenari Calligrave, and the other one being the Scenari Law Seeker, and yet they're both in different armors. As in, this one looks a lot more like the archers.
Yeah.
And the other one looks a lot more like, the guard, So and the swords masters, the blade masters. So did that come up what the scenario was?
It may have done, but I was trying to work at the same time, so I might not have heard that.
Yeah, because I noticed that they were also the name was different because the Venari Blade Lords. There's also the Venari Banner Blade. So I figured that the Venari Banner Blade went with the Venari Blade Lords from the same school or whatever. And then I couldn't really work out what the Venari and the Scenari, whether they were related. Anyway, so yeah, tell me about this guy.
Well, no, all I was going to get your commentary on is check out those shoes.
Yeah, I've only just noticed them when I've been sat looking at it now.
What is going on there?
Well, maybe you just wanted a better view of the battlefield. I'm assuming what's going on with him and why he's called a calligrave is that it's to do with the calligraphy he's doing. So whatever.
Yeah, so he's using like a wand or something to do runes.
Yeah, I think
like that idea.
The next one is just. I mean, there's so many models here. We're looking at the Huracan Wind Mage, which is a mage riding on top of a cloud. That does in no way is as camp as that sounds. He looks like a comet of like goodness.
Yeah.
He's just insane.
yeah. I love him. And again, his aesthetic is gonna go back to another model that we'll see in a minute. The Wind Dude. It did make me think. I should say I love the model. It did make me think of Cooper in some of the Mario where he like rides around on a cloud throwing stuff out of the cloud.
Yeah.
To get him. But yeah, I love that. I think that's ace.
Yeah. And another model where we can only really see one angle of it.
And another thing there, look at the plants on his base, right? I mean, not so much the tree because that's been there for a while, but the little like stalks of wheat or whatever that is are blowing in the same direction as the model's going.
Yeah,
it's just great, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, it's so good, isn't it? Right. Anyway, next one. Now, oh yeah, I love this man.
The banner. Yeah.
Look at that guy.
You can't really be a high elf without an absolutely obnoxious banner, can you? Like
this is what's so lovely about this lot. These releases now have really made them like high elves, but mortal realm-sized, because they filled the other gaps, haven't they?
Yeah.
I love this banner. I just love it, man. It's just amazing. I mean, it's either incredibly light or he is incredibly strong because he is holding it up. It's not touching the floor.
I think it's a bit of both going on.
Or is it actually? No, it's in a thing.
It might be in a banner sling.
Yeah. I think it is actually. Yeah, now I say, I like that. I think because I was a little bit like, but no, I like that. Oh, he looks ace. Oh, just imagine like a big phalanx of like 20 of the guys with the long spears and him like, yeah. A load of the sword dudes.
Yep.
Yeah, I love them. Right, hang on. I zoomed in on him.
The next one is the demon spirit.
Oh, yeah. This is the alternate build, isn't it?
I can't remember the original build to compare it to him. This is Huracan's Spirit of the Wind. So Huracan is obviously an important thing because we have the Huracan wind mage. So I'm guessing Huracan is the deity, the wind deity or whatever, the wind spirit, which is quite cool because I'll remember that because it sounds like a hurricane, which is probably why they've done it. He's great. I love him. He's really reminds me of like the Japanese anime, like the Studio Ghibli stuff.
Yeah, he's
really
wonderful.
Like him.
So
the swirly whirly bass.
Swirly whirly.
And of course, because there's actually now been more models released since the original release, we have the much needed Lumineth Realm Lords army book, which is difficult to complain about, but at the same time somewhat frustrating that the other one is less than a year old. But you can't be without a new one. There's so many new units and models. You need it. We need it.
Yeah, and I think so there are going to be other ways to get the rules. They've said that they even said that in the stream that you wouldn't have to necessarily buy the second book. But also I think there's a lot's gone on obviously with the COVID pandemic and messing up of release schedules and stuff. But it's no good. Like if you were new, so some people are going to see this and go, right, that's amazing. I want to do Realm Lords. And you aren't going to want to have to go out and gather up bits of paper and stuff to do your book, are you? You're going to want to just go, boom, there's my book. Yeah. So I that art is brilliant.
Yeah.
That is so good. And it harkens right on back to Warhammer in the old world, doesn't it? With the really light colour going on. Oh, yeah, I love that. I love it. It's brilliant. Right. From stuff that is very light to something that is incredibly dark.
Krulgast the Cruciator.
So this guy was a torturer in life. And now is being tortured because that's how the gash rolls. Just in case you were thinking the gash was the way to go for your weekly worship, I would suggest not, based on this guy. I mean, he's wonderful, isn't he?
He's wonderful and horrible and everything that I love about the Nighthaunt.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, he's just so frightening. Like the idea that the Nighthaunt are ghosts and even a chain rasp is like your worst nightmare of a ghost. And then somehow the character models, like the Executioner and this guy, it's like they've worked out what would be the most horrific thing that you could wake up and see.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, when you hear the bump in the night and you went to have a look to see what it was, what's your worst case scenario? And it's
that, yeah.
It's that, isn't it? It's just horrific. And so, it's lovely. It's a lovely scale as well.
Yeah.
To add different sizes into the Nighthaunt is one of my favorite things about the Nighthaunt is that there's this wonderful range of sizes. So yeah.
What was quite funny about this guy was so Harriet and Joshua went to the shops earlier in the week, and Joshy was walking along and they must have been looking at magazines, and he saw Mortal Realms and recognized it as something that looked like what Daddy has in his hobby room. Said he wanted to get it for Daddy because Daddy would like it. And that in itself is epic. And they gave me that today as a surprise, which was just a fantastic surprise. But the issue is one with 10 chain rasps on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, timing.
Yeah.
But, just to add to the projects to do.
Well, you sold me your Nighthaunt and you're not having them back. So
no, I know. But there's more where they came from, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
So, yeah, they're... he's great. Superb. Oh, yeah, I forgot. so, so the next up,
I think this is the best Stormcast model they have ever made. I think it's just fantastic.
yeah, it is.
This is Gardas Steel Soul, which is
Yeah.
somewhat of a tongue twister if you try and say it too quickly. And he's doing a Captain America landing. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's so good, isn't it? So this is the guy who went into the realm of chaos, going after or while fighting or laying low a greater demon of Nurgle, and ended up traveling through the gardens of Nurgle, and then popped back up again later on, and was still like, only the faithful, I'm a badass.
Look at him.
I know.
Just look at him. I mean, it's just fantastic.
He is so good. He is so good. And, you know, I love these guys. These are my favorite Storm host.
You need him, Dan.
I do.
You need him leading your army.
I need to. The thing is, it makes me want to go back. Do you remember? Well, a couple of years ago now, I decided I was going to like spruce up my Stormcast, and I did that one.
Yeah.
Where I took it up to like the next level.
Yeah.
And I was really happy with it. And then this guy just makes me want to be like.
He's unfortunate. The only thing for me that I'm a bit disappointed by is that he is so epic and Gardas is so epic. I would feel dirty painting him anything other than Gardas. So I can't see how I'd pop him in my army. But I think I'd probably end up.
The thing is, though, if you put his helmet on.
Yeah, but the face is so good. So he comes with two options for. We're reminding ourselves that this is a podcast and not a television show. He comes with two options for his head, so a helmeted option and an unhelmeted option. And the unhelmeted option is just brilliant, just filled with the rage and power of.
See, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that face, but I really like the helmeted version. I just like the sinisterness, I suppose,
of a death mask on a.
I always have, though. I've never really I'm absolutely fine with the fact that Stormcaster men inside or people inside. I just love them with the helmets on.
Yeah,
is what it is.
I can understand that.
But he's awesome. Have they done a female Lord Celestin?
I'm not sure.
They should.
They did a whole bunch of knights.
Yeah, I know. I think that would be ace. Anyway, right. Oh, yeah, forgotten this guy.
Now, yeah, this guy, again, it's just absolutely brilliant. It's to the point where Miles from Little Legend said, if you had a gun to your head, which would be your standout model from this slot? And I just couldn't. For him, it was this one. For me, it was Gardas. There's so many good models here, though. It's ridiculous. So this is the White King that we're about to talk about, and he is a character model for the Death Rattle, which is quite cool because I've got a fledgling Death Rattle thing going on that just from bits and bobs from my old Undead and the Underworld's Warband. And as soon as we get to the next section later on, when we talk about Cursed City, there's going to be a lot of Death Rattler in that. So actually, this would be quite a cool thing to just pull them all together under a leader.
Well, and they did say in the stream that this is just one of a number of releases that will be coming along for this army keyword.
Rattle.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. See, the nice thing is the original skeletons are not the original, but the current skeleton models are still ace. They're really nice. So they fit really well. So yeah.
I've never been a Death fan. like in the old Warhammer world. Never like vampires, Count's army, nah. Tomb Kings, nah. Not really. Never really struck a chord with me. But like the more the death get expanded for in Age of Sigmar, the more I just think, what a fantastic, what a fantastic group they are.
Mm-hmm.
As a whole thing. So just as a death as a broad keyword, it's just brilliant.
Yep. Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. Which is leading me more and more to thinking I really ought to get Nagash to tie the different aspects together.
Yeah.
Because the New White Dwarf has got an excellent couple of like articles on excellent article on the bone thing, Osiarchs. Look, you know what I can't remember.
Yeah.
And it was really cool reading about them rather than just sort of seeing the models and reading the article release, because I've not got the codex or book and I hadn't read about them, and seeing how they come across as to interact with. I thought that was quite cool. Really liked it. So, I mean, this guy's got so many textures on, and like Miles said when I was chatting to him, so many options for things like OSL, so object source lighting from like eyes and weapons, etc. I can see this guy popping up in painting competitions a lot.
Yeah, there's lots of textures and stuff, isn't there, in the metals and
the cloak and the bone and everything, and the wood. It's just absolutely brilliant. I wonder if he's going to be like a complicated kit, or whether he's going to be like an easy build kit. Because he could be both. It could equally be both, because the push fit easy build Nighthaunt characters are bloody brilliant. They don't look like they're not easy build. So I could see it being both.
Yeah, absolutely, me too. So rolling on down to something that will be close to your green skin heart.
Yeah, so we've now seen the whole of Hedraka's Mad Mob, and they really are lovely, aren't they?
Yeah,
they are very, very good.
Yeah, they are.
I love Hedraka's ridiculous wooden face helmet. It's just it's like he stuck a toilet seat over his neck and then just put he's great.
He's
absolutely brilliant.
He's like an updated version of Wurzag, the prophet.
Yeah.
That turned people into squigs.
And all three of his compatriots. So there's a bowman, a guy with a two-handed stone axe, and then the guy with claws, like Wolverine, but made out of bones. And they are just phenomenal. And I can't wait to add them into my destruction force.
Are you gonna get two then?
Two
boxes.
Why would I do that?
So that you can have one as a warband for.
No. I've gone away from that. So I've just sort of decided with the warbands to paint them as if they're going to be in the army, and then I can use them in the game, in the Underworlds game, if I want to. If that makes any sense. So, I mean, there is only one warband that I've done to, and that was the Ard Boys one. His name has escaped me completely. Where I did a red and yellow one to start with. Really chuffed with those actually. But then I changed my colour scheme when I did the painting thing for what was it called? The story arc that with where they released the book
Malign Portents.
Malign Portents, that's it, yeah. So when I painted that army for Malign Portents, I changed it over to white and red, which I'm very happy I did, and I've got absolutely no regrets doing that, even though it took a lot longer than the red and yellow. But I kind of I keep the red and white across the whole of my destruction army. So my goblins are red and white, and these guys I'll do red and white. So like the feathers will be red and white, and the body paint will be white. and red, depending on the unit they're in. So I'll keep that theme across the whole army, the whole destruction army. The idea being that at some point I'm hoping they'll release some kind of big bad destruction thing, like Nagash, to sort of tie the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I really like about Death, is that they do have like a big bad, and Chaos. Actually, they've got Archeon. So I kind of always hoped that there would be an order thing to pull everyone together, and I suppose the Stormcast fill that role a little bit. But for destruction, I would love to see like a big war boss of some description that really pulled all the tribes together. A centerpiece model.
Do you know? Have you seen what their names are? The guy with the two-handed, like over his head, skull axe.
Yeah.
Wallop the Skull. He's called.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Great. Another great wallback. And just as sort of an aside for this, I don't want to dwell on this box set too much, but they've announced the release of Warhammer Underworlds, which is odd, I know, but it's a 2-player starter set for Underworlds that is not Beastgrave, Nightbolt, or any of that. It's sort of separate and will remain separate and permanently separate. So that if someone says, "Oh, how do I get into this?" and we've talked about this a lot, that this would be the place to start, Underworlds.
Yeah, I think it's great, and it's another game that you can pop on the stores of anywhere, on the shelves of any store, to introduce people to Games Workshop products. And you can see that from the front, where it's got like a little over 200,000 Warhammer Underworlds games sold, and then a little seal of approval thing on there. So it's obviously that idea. It's interesting though. Guy with the crossbow right in the middle of the art. It looks like he's firing a laser gun. Have you seen? It's got like a red.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but they do. It is a kind of bolt rather than it fires like that blessed water, doesn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a crossbow bolt, so it's not.
I thought those ones were. Don't know. It doesn't matter, but it looks cool. It doesn't really matter.
What I think is quite cheeky is that the 2 wall bands in there are new, with new cards, so it even makes it sort of tantalizing for every Underworlds player, not just beginners.
They've got new cards, haven't they? But they are existing. They are existing models. They are, because they're
existing models.
Yeah,
but I don't think they've ever been given Underworlds rules. So.
No.
Yeah, so that's quite cool. Right, so Cursed City is just everything I hoped it was going to be from a model perspective at the moment. So we've seen a fair few of the models, but that hasn't made the impact of the full release of all the models any less. It is just absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Did they say much about the game dynamic before we go into the models on the release, Dan?
What they said was it would be very familiar to anyone that had played Blackstone and Silver Tower before that. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like, and whether, because Blackstone, you set up the whole map right from the outset.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they'll do that or not. I kind of hope not, but we'll see. There's also, like, someone pointed out, I think on Facebook, that if you look at the picture of the whole box contents, there's where it's sort of laid out, there's a little dial at the front there with dice in, and you've got like a day and night.
Yeah.
And then the cards for each of the minions, as it were, have got day and night sides.
Yeah.
So it looks like the dead are more like vicious by night and less so by day.
As it should be.
As it should be. So I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's very cool. So oh my goodness. The heroes. So the first one, again,
the first one looks like a Knight of Sigma.
Yeah. So she's is a knight of the Order of Azir, I think.
Yeah.
So she
is Imelda Braskov.
Good. I'm glad you've got the names there, right? So what I love about this, so she's not a Stormcast, she's a knight, but another glimpse into, normal, humans, but like fighty ones in the mortal realms.
What I'm most excited about her is the potential that we could see units of knights that look like that. Like,
that's kind of where I was going with that. So yeah.
Yes. Please, so Games Workshop, please.
Yeah. So she looks great. Really, really cool. Then we've got the chappie that we've seen before, the witch hunter that was kicked out for being too zealous.
Elson Darrock.
Yeah. So he's cool. He's got a stake rifle and a
hammer.
Everyone
needs a hammer.
Yeah, I think it's clear that he doesn't like the undead, I think it would be fair to say.
Yeah. Then we have a dwarven guy who is called Dagnai Holdenstock.
Yeah, so he's cool. So he's got some kind of like scales type steam engine thing on his back. He's definitely got the kind of look of a privateer.
Yeah,
it's like little waistcoaty type thing going on.
Very piratey.
Yeah. And I love the fact he's the first sort of unhelmeted Caradron that we've seen, but he's still got a metal beard.
Yeah, I was going to say he's still got like a face mask on, hasn't he?
Yeah. So I love that.
Well, we've had the Bugman chap. He's unhelmeted.
Oh, that's true. No, yeah, I stand corrected. Yes, that is true. And I like his sort of rifle thing that he's got there, harpoon gun.
Yeah.
Although I'm not quite sure that you'd want to drag the undead closer. But then I suppose if you've got an axe like that, maybe you do.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
All of him. So next up, we've just got an elf with a bow, so we're not interested.
Colathis the Exile.
Yeah.
Who is a Kanothi, I think they said.
Yeah, which is interesting. Because she's got normal legs.
But she does have horns. And whether or not whether those antlers are actually part of her or not is not entirely clear. And the little bit of artwork doesn't make it any clearer, frankly. No. So maybe it'd be great to have the Kanothi as an expanded race. Maybe sort of pull the Sylvaneth and the Kanothi together to make a bigger, larger army. If you see what I mean. Rather than sort of have another army of which they're getting a lot now in HST. It's getting somewhat crowded. I think she's fab, and I love that we're now seeing more and more elves. So she's a winner for me in every way.
Yeah, absolutely. This next guy's great.
He is Mr. McSwagger.
Yeah,
managing to swagger with like some serious weight of armor on him as well.
Yeah.
With a whopping great sword and a pistol, and he just looks like he's got attitude to spare, hasn't he?
He puts me in mind of Yanis Drake.
Who's that?
I think it was
the Blackstone guy.
Yeah,
he does.
Rogue
yeah,
Trader.
in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I think he's brilliant. He just looks great.
He's Glario, then Alton the Third. So I love the fact that he has a numeric as well.
He's they said in the stream that he's like the surviving descendant of the noble family that was overthrown by the
undead.
died by the undead.
Oh, that's quite cool.
Something like that, anyway.
So he's got real reasons to be here.
Yeah, he's got some beef.
So the next guy puts all beards to shame. It's Octron Glimscry, and he is a wizard of some description. Probably one of the amethyst ones, isn't he? With a beard that is just monumental.
Well, what's cool about this guy? So he and the guy that they previewed the other day, the undead like lunatic guy.
Yeah.
They were both working on like the same sort of project.
Yeah.
Together, and like were quite close, and then obviously it all kicked off, and then they've gone their separate ways quite dramatically.
Yeah, it's fair to say. What I love about him is that I think he's got a mask on. Is my reading of the model. He's really, really sinister.
Yeah,
and wizards always run a sort of the risk of being quite daft in some ways. The tropes can be a bit daft if they're not sort of done right. But he looks like really intimidating. Like you wouldn't underestimate him if you came across him.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Because he doesn't look martially strong, does he? And that just adds to it.
Yeah, he just looks like he could sort of extend his finger from his staff and your face would wither off or something. Horrendous. Yeah. And then the next one is like a daughter of Sigma, which I just thought was really brilliant. Cleona, I think this is pronounced Nightingale, which I love because it then makes you think that she's a bit like Florence Nightingale.
Yeah, well, because she's a healer.
Yeah. A healer who carries around stakes to kill undead. It's worth pointing out.
Yeah, silver stakes.
Yeah, absolutely fab. She's great, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think one of my standouts is next.
Yeah, me too.
Because it adds the idea that ogres are not all bad. This walloping great big called Brutog Corpse Eater. So I think he's just brilliant. He's just absolutely massive.
Adam Troke was saying apparently there's a bit of background where he lost a bet and ended up eating corpse flesh or something, but he found out he quite liked it. So now he just wants to eat all the undead.
Fair enough. He's armoured as well. I mean, if they take the ogres in that way, like the Ogrins or whatever they're called, ogres. What are they called for?
Ogres. It's just OGORS.
If they take them this way in their units, you know, when they come around to redo them, they'll be really popular.
What I love about this guy is he reminds me of the old Golfags ogres that came out as part of the Dogs of War.
Yeah.
Back in like issue 225 of White Dwarf or something, ages ago. I love it. I love it going back to that aesthetic. Not that I dislike the belly ogres. Yeah. In fact, I feel an amount of affinity with them. But this guy is just brilliant.
Yeah. Agreed.
Again, I agree with you. He's one of my standouts.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So should we talk about the evil characters next, or should we talk about the sort of the unit bad guys?
No, we'll go unit bad guys because they're the next thing.
On this. So bats.
Bat swarms.
Great bat swarms.
That's what bat swarms should look like, isn't it?
Bats and then rats.
Yeah, bats and rats. Undead rats, in fact.
Corpse rats, I think they'll be called, given the background you were talking about in the last episode.
Yeah.
So bats and rats. Don't know how many of each of those you get. And then we've got two very angry-looking dudes called the Kosagi Night Guard.
They're undead ogres.
And they've got some significantly sized axes.
They have, haven't they? Yeah. They are undead ogres, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah, so for corpse eater to eat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we saw the next bunch sort of previewed previously, which is the Orphan Watch, but we only really saw the standard barrier and what is effectively, I suppose, what would have been the unit champion, I guess. But there's loads of them.
Yeah.
Different sculpts of these guys.
And what's so cool is they are a different aesthetic to the normal skeleton models, aren't they? And that's just really nice.
Yeah, I mean, you get the idea that there's different fashions in different cities. Is a big
yeah, absolutely. So and there's like one of them's got one of the curved
scimitar, rather than a sword,
which is cool.
And the shields are sort of cast bronze with loads of ornamentation. It's a shame, really, because when I look at those, what I actually think is what we really need is units of human troops, like not undead ones, with these cool aesthetics in.
You've got at least something to come out next time.
But you know what I mean? I mean, I'd love to have
agree.
seen these in their prime with their, with their armor and those wicked shields and the helmets that actually made me think of the Men of Dale.
Yeah.
I love them. Absolutely brilliant. They're going to look so good with that death rattle dude.
Yeah.
Fab. And then we've got, which is, I have to say, the most bizarre set of zombies I've ever seen. They're carrying their bloody headstones on their backs.
Yeah,
which is a little unfortunate.
And actually,
with the roots growing through their faces. So
yeah, that's right. So and like if you look at them, they've actually like their headstones and stuff are speared down through them.
Yeah.
So not balancing on their backs, they're like speared into. It is very weird. Isn't it?
I'm very interested to see what the background is for these because they are odd.
They do look a bit like games which were like, right, how can we put loads of extra detail to paint onto zombies? Oh, I know, let's put a headstone on as well.
Yeah. I don't
bird on that one.
Yes, there is.
That's amazing. Oh, that one's got roots like growing out through its eye sockets, and oh goodness, I'm so glad that Age of Sigmar isn't grimdark or anything, because that would just be mad, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean they've done a fair bit of work getting colour into these without vibrancy is what I'm looking for. So they're very muted palette, but there's purples and blues and greens and yellows and all sorts of colours in there. I think they're really interesting, and I want to know more about them. But it is very Age of Sigmar zombie, isn't it? It's just, they couldn't just do a normal zombie. They just do something mad with them.
No, well, I mean, what would be the point of that?
Absolutely. I do agree. Because I wasn't expecting anything that looked like that. So we're now moving on to the kind of characters of the dark side, the bad side, evil, the undead. So starting with Radakar the wolf, who clearly likes wolf pelts.
He is the main bad, the big bad.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's
a vampire. He's a vampire ogre.
He's an ogre, so he's going to be massive.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's awesome. A vampire ogre. Case.
Yeah, you can see him in the sort of the picture of the whole box contents laid out. He's in there, sort of over on the right.
Yeah. I mean, I liked him when I thought he was a normal scale dude. But now thinking that he's ogre size, I like him a lot more.
So he has that similar sort of Cossack looking feel as the undead ogres from earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, he's great, isn't he?
Yeah,
Lot of
he certainly has got a thing for wolf pelts, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen the next one on the list, which is Torgilius the Chamberlain.
Yeah, so this is the one I was saying about, is like linked with that other guy, the wizard, with the really long beard. This guy's like, he's just jealous that he doesn't have that long beard like the other dude.
He's working on it though. It's down to
he's having a go. Yeah, it's a bit more filled out. It's got a sneaky looking rat thing and a candle.
He's got a very nice looking raven.
Yeah, he does. I thought that when I saw it, I was like, oh, Ben, there's a raven.
And I love the way that they've got the light reflecting off of its feathers.
Yeah, and a little bat that on the left there.
Yeah, just asleep.
It's a creepy bugger, isn't he?
And we've seen the next fella as well, who's the unfortunate captain of the Orphan Watch, who met his grisly end in the sewer.
Yeah, I love the sort of greeny armor that they've got going.
Yeah.
The problem with games like this is you just want it. I just want to buy it all in a box painted, so I can just get it out and play with it. Because by the time I paint it all, I'll be like, oh my goodness, I'll be onto something else by then. Take forever to paint.
I'm sort of thinking of making it my weekend project to paint one character. It'll take me most of the year to get it done that way, the characters, but worth it, I think. I think always get them painted.
Yeah.
The next one on there is one of the vampires gone wrong, isn't it? It's called a Vargskier.
To be fair to you, sorry to drop back, but that's quite a good idea because there are 42 hostiles, so that includes all the evil characters, and 8 heroes. So that's 50 models.
Yeah.
And then you could do the 10 objective markers in a weekend, probably. So, a year of weekends.
Yeah.
There's a book in there with all the war scrolls to use everything that's in the box in Age of Sigmar.
I love that. I'm very excited by that. I think that's wonderful.
Sorry, I've kind of skipped on a bit because I was thinking.
You have. So Vargskier is the next one, who's one of the where the vampires lose control and end up beasts.
Like a Vargolf.
Is
there a little rat? Yeah, that's a little tiny rat on his base.
Yeah, there is a little tiny rat on his base. And the next one we've actually already seen as well, who is brilliant, Gorslav the Gravekeeper. He's just a horribly sinister thing.
Yeah, with his shovel blade thing. I love that blade.
We really like him. The next one is another vampire baddie called the Vikros Bloodborne, I think he is. These are the Vikros Bloodborne. So the 3 of them. They're sort of vampires on their way to being more feral beasties with bat-like legs, but really dynamic, great armor, swordsman by the look of it.
Yeah,
I love the guy perched on top of the pillar.
Mm-hmm.
They look like feral cats. I think they're superb.
They really, really make you want to paint them, don't they?
Yeah. I love the way they've done the eyes sockets red. Really like that. So that's the Cursed City models. I suppose we should have said this at the start of that bit. We kind of did. We worked our way through the preview, so if you wanted to work your way through with us, that would have been cool. But so you get 8 heroes, 42 hostiles, 10 objective markers, and then board tiles and gateways and leech gates. It doesn't tell you how many of those you get. Then you get the rule book and the quest book, and then the War Scrolls book, which is a very exciting addition. And a secret envelope. They've kept the secret envelope, which is excellent. And I don't know about you, but I have a feeling that more than Blackstone Fortress, I really want to know the narrative behind this. So the novel I'd be quite interested in, actually.
Yeah.
I'd be quite interested indeed. Cool.
How much do you reckon?
Well, there's some frightening guesses going around. One guess I've heard a lot was $300, which is madness, frankly. I can't see it being that.
Oh, I don't know what that works out at.
Neither do I, but $300 sounds
Just
sounds a lot. 300. Let's put it in 300 in pounds. It's 215 quid. You reckon they'd charge 200 quid for that?
No.
I don't think they would even remotely come close to that. I could see them potentially charging 120 or 150. Because well, I could see them doing that. There's a fair few like unique models in there. You know, it's essentially a box of characters.
Blackstone Fortress was $150. I think it was £95.
I'd like to see it around 100 quid. 95 quid. I'd love to see it like that, but unfortunately the price keeps keeping up on everything. So
I think one. I don't know.
My feeling is 120.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling. But there we go. So the last thing that was previewed, as if that wasn't enough for an Age of Sigmar release, and it's a real shame that we...
It is so funny.
It is a real shame.
It's so funny after last episode.
So poor old Rob is all I could say. They've previewed Bellicor, and the bits that they've previewed look frighteningly nice.
Yeah, he's going to be amazing. He's just going to be amazing.
You're going to have him?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't got an it's more for a hobby desk chat, but really need to have a sort of reflect on a direction for this year. Because, time is a rare commodity. And I won't lie to you, there is nothing. I'll just double check. Perhaps with the exception of the two Underworlds things, because I've deliberately made the decision to stay away from that. Not because I don't enjoy it, but because of the style of thing it is. But there is nothing else in here that I wouldn't want.
Yeah,
and feasibly get excited about. I already said like the Lumineth. I was toying with the Lumineth anyway when we were looking at what we were going to do for the, for our the guys up here for the slow grow thing, and now they've added in units that just harken back to my original army, and it's like, oh. And Cult of Paint have done
I was just about
an army painting.
Yeah.
Guide, which looks great. So
it's good. Have you watched it?
Really easy. No, I haven't. No,
it's ace.
Yeah, I know. It will be ace because their guides are always ace. So really, it's the Venari Blade Lords, and then like straight into a bolt thrower, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And then there's a floating bloody mountain. Yeah, they're just wonderful. And then this chain rasp guy that just looks so good, and then I get given 10 chain rasps on the day he comes up. So it really could quite conceivably go down that rabbit hole. Gardas, I mean, for crying out loud, it's just epic. So my point being, and then you get the White Lord, which fits in with me doing vampires in Warmaster, and then you get this Cursed City box, and that could be, at the current rate of painting, a year's project. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
The trouble is, I don't. It's really interesting. She's right on that cusp, really, of being like, not got the time to paint, but don't earn enough to pay for it to be painted. So you just have to, yeah. And then there's all the other bits and bobs, Legion and Warmaster, and this little game called 40K.
Yeah.
So yeah. Don't know. I don't expect so with Be'lakor. And I'm not sure about what we're doing about the Cursed City, because I thought Chris was definitely getting it. And now I don't think he's as sure. Because he loves the miniatures, but he's concerned because he's not super keen on Blackstone and the way it runs. And so I don't know. It's the truth.
That's fair enough.
Which would mean I'd want to get it.
Right, so shall we move into the community section?
I think so, because that was a long Mortal Realms.
Had to
Good
be.
though.
Couldn't miss any of that out.
No. It was entirely needed. So, right. Guys, we will see you in the community. Hail, glorious community. Welcome to episode 64's community segment. And more shout outs, Benjamin.
Yeah.
You did send them to me. I shall access them now. Obviously, I have diligently paid attention to every message you've sent me.
Yeah, we were just discussing this.
As we've established. And here we go. So.
Yeah, number one for today is Fletcher's painting. So Fletcher's _painting on Instagram. The reason I wanted to share his work is I've been really loving the Flesh Tearers army that he's been doing, I think, as a commission. The speed at which he painted it, I just can't get over, frankly. Incredibly quickly. I think he's doing it for Tabletop Tactics. I think
that plasma weapon is ridiculous.
Yeah, and part of it has been this plasma gun that he's done, and the plasma OSL is
that just looks like it's lit with an LED.
Yeah, I don't really know how he's done it. I mean, I'm not shoddy at OSL, and I don't know how he's done it. Anyway, so yeah, his Flesh.
I was going to say you're pretty good at your plasma weapons.
Yeah. So that the Flesh Tearers army is really brilliant. What I love about it is the armor. So the basic sort of red he's done, the gradient between sort of essentially almost black, and bright red works so well for Flesh Tearers. You know, to have that real darkness in the red works really, really well. And then added into that the fact that he's the speed he's done it, the edge highlighting and the highlighter work is just wonderful.
It is really, they are lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, so I really like that army. But then the reason I actually originally started following him a while back is was his Spaceballs, unsurprisingly. Normally it is. And there's some great Spaceball stuff on there that if you're interested in that stuff. But I should imagine you're probably bored sick of Spaceballs with hearing me go on about it. But what I like about his Spaceballs, just focus on a little bit, is how he's kept the colour palette really, really minimum. So there's basically the armour colour, the leather/fur colour, and then the blues that he's used for the eyes and the OSL and stuff on the shield. And it works really, really well. Because one of the things that I struggle with my Spaceballs is, and I've spoken about this before, is the amount of colours, the amount of things, and the amount of different things that I have to do on them. I find can get a bit overwhelming. And just for you as well, if you scroll a little bit further down, he's got some Ultramarines that I thought you might like, done in a very similar sort of style. So yeah, so Fletcher's painting. I believe that he's doing, and I may be completely, yes, just to see confirmation, he's doing the Flesh Tearers for Tabletop Tactics. So you'll see more of them, I should think. Yeah. And I believe he is also one of the painters for Siege Studios.
Oh.
Which doesn't surprise me at all, given the standard of it. So the next one I wanted to talk about is called Jaded Art. Just bring them up.
Oh gosh.
In a bit of a weird way, it's just _jaded.art_. And then what I like about this guy's work, or the thing that caught my attention about him, is his Dark Angels, where he's gone for, I wouldn't say grimdark, because that word gets overused, I feel, but it's very muted, desaturated palette for the Dark Angels, with loads of weathering, and it works really, really, really well. I love the hundreds of little scratches that he's done on them are all so small and finely done that it doesn't overwhelm the miniature. It kind of adds a sort of texture to the surface rather than it being like a defining part of the detail, if that makes any sense. So I really, really like these. Big fan of these. Particular fan of how he's mixed the Indomitus Chaplain with, I think, the Chaplain from Dark Vengeance, I think, to create a interrogator chaplain that's badass, and has done a lovely conversion of Azrael. Really good. So yes, super duper. Very, very much recommend him if you at all like Dark Angels or Weathering. And the last one for a hobby account is, I'm afraid, going to be another Space Wolf account, but it's a Space Wolf account that I think everyone would appreciate because just the style and the atmosphere and the overall quality of the Instagram page. You'd think this guy was running a company of, as in, he must do this for a living in some way or just be very talented, because all the photos are just gorgeous. The artwork he does is gorgeous. The kind of design aesthetic of the whole thing, which is, they're called the Nomads, it's just wonderful. So I'd strongly recommend going and have a look at that.
I love the Guardsman.
I was about to say, he's currently working on Guardsman to go with them, which is using a mixture of the Games Workshop Guardsman stuff and the Artel sculpts, and they look great. Really, really good.
He's done some guys in like Phobos armor with bare arms that I like.
Yes. Yeah. I had seen that and spent a little time trying to work out where he got the bare arms from. I haven't really worked it out yet, to be honest. Yep, so that's him. And the final one I wanted to talk about is a hobby account, but it's not the only reason I wanted to bring them up. It's another podcast actually, and I've only listened to a little bit of their stuff and really enjoyed it. It's called Out of the Frying Pan podcast, and it's a Middle-earth strategy battle game focused podcast. And they've been churning out the Lord of the Rings models. So they've got a great account filled with hobby for Lord of the Rings. So if you're interested in Lord of the Rings, and we often sort of delve in and out. For example, they've made Helm's Deep. You know, so it's just great, isn't it? And yeah. So
hang on, I'm going to find Helm's Deep. Hang on. Oh, it's not rubbish, is it?
No, it really isn't.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. So, if you're into the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, then I would strongly recommend doing two things: following their Instagram account and going and listening to their podcast. I just recently restarted Lord of the Rings, the book, and I told you this before we went on air, so you've heard it, but came across the word matham, the Hobbit word for an item with no immediate use, but they can't get rid of, can't bring themselves to throw away. I think mathams form a significant part of my existence.
Sorry. I am going to defend myself by saying you quite rightly pointed out that I had heard that. That's why I wasn't listening, but I've just been sent something and it's just got little things to ponder, like lobsters are mermaids to scorpions.
Right.
Just say it. But they're all like, it's all got the Cookie Monster saying them, you see.
I'm so glad that I do a podcast with someone who listens to me and
excuse me,
with
you
everything.
Were saying something that you'd already said I had heard.
Yeah, but it would be nice to have an interaction with you.
But is it weird that we cook bacon and bake cookies?
No.
Cookie dough is the sushi of desserts.
No.
Lasagna is just spaghetti flavored cake.
No. It's tomato flavored cake.
Onion rings are vegetable donuts.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Your stomach thinks all potatoes are mashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. Some profound moments. On to the hobby group. So, a couple of bits to shout out. The first one has to be, without a doubt, Rich Nutter's Lamb Raider.
Yeah. I agree.
Which just looks absolutely super.
We should point out that Rich Nutter's Land Raider is the original Land Raider.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Lucky.
But it works, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
It really works. It really works. So, yeah, that is ace. Gotta love that. A great deal. So, yeah, love it. Love it very much. Very nice. Mike M, please stop showing me pictures of painted ships. They're awesome.
Mike M, don't listen to a word he says and keep showing us pictures of painted ships because
I love them. I love them. Rob Ang.
Talking about painted ships, sorry, before we go on, I was watching a program called Revealing the Bottom of the Ocean or something along those lines. It's on Disney on the Discovery bits of history. And what they do is they like use sonar or something to create a really detailed map of the ocean bed, and then they CGI render it and take the sea away to see it. But the first episode was on World War II stuff, and they were looking for the HMS Sydney, and I didn't realise that how it was taken out was that the Germans were employing these merchant ships with like hidden guns all over them, and then they were drawing like battleships in close and then unloading this like anti-tank artillery at close range and just wiping them out. It's what took out the Sydney. But just on World War II topic, I thought that was dead interesting. And if anyone has Disney, it's a crackingly interesting episode actually. if you're interested in the Navy. There's a submarine with anti-sonar as well. The Germans had put like rubber plating all along it with little holes in the rubber plating, so it just the sound didn't reflect off of it. So it went into the channel and wiped out like loads of ships. So the only way that we could track it down and find it was that we drew it into a trap where we just planted like thousands of mines and blew it up with a mine.
Okay. Right. This is awesome. Bobby Clark's Tau Commander.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
He said that he'd sort of doing some extra work on his glazing, didn't he? When he was talking about it. Really, really good.
The colours just work really well. They're really well executed. Yeah, it's superb. Superb.
Yeah. And Bobby Clark is Red Eagle Painting Studios. For those who are interested.
Oh, right, cool.
Yep, so it's commission work. So if you want to see his stuff on Instagram, it's under Red Eagle Studio.
It's nice to see Mike Parker has turned to the hobby, what are they called? Really useful box storage system.
Yeah.
That I love. So that's good. It just works so well. Doesn't it?
I was we're currently moving from paper to digital notes at work.
Oh yeah.
Because, you know, everyone used to have their own like paper Lloyd George notes. And the cabinets that we had them in are like have got drawers on that you can like draw out, and that they're really solid and made of metal. And I was looking at them and I was like, and the drawers are only like maybe 4 inches deep. So I was thinking of getting as many drawers into one unit as possible. And they're really cleverly designed so that because of the weight of them all out, it won't let you pull all the shelves out at once. There's like a system to it. So I'm very, very tempted to nab one and bring it home.
I must admit, that's always been a little bit of my kind of pipe dream of when I had a gaming table. And I did look at it when I did the hobby room first of getting, I think it might be called a drawing cabinet or something like that. But they're really expensive. Like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So
the Perry twins use naval chart drawers, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're hell of expensive.
But
yeah,
I've always thought that'd be a great way to store miniatures. So I was going to say Rob Angle's gone back to doing some sculpting.
Very nice it is too.
Yeah, very nice it is too. So that's also good to see.
Rob Angle is one of the owners and runners of Curtain Games, if you're interested.
Yes, they are. They are feeding my addiction to the game I don't collect very well. I'm just waiting because at the moment the ATST is out of stock everywhere.
Oh dear.
I know.
So is the ATST and the Snow Speeder thing the next two additions to your two forces, which aren't going to be armies? That yeah. Because then why don't you just bite the bloody bullet and buy the starters kit?
Because if I get the Snow Speeder and the ATST when I've done these heavy weapons, right? Then after that, if I get the starter set, put it all together, I'll have 2 800-point forces.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
So, yeah. But what I don't want to do is just end up with yet another box full of miniatures that's unpainted.
Yeah, that's fair dues.
So, the last thing to say is please don't forget that competition time is running. It's a unit of 2 or more models. So please do get your entries in on the announcement. In the announcement section.
Yes, and remember that this month isn't quite as long as others.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that,
should we head into the wilds and find something to talk about?
Yeah, we got to think of something to talk about in the wilds. You know what we should do? We should do a little post and say, what do you want us? What game shall we look at? Actually, do we really want to ask people to suggest that we play more games?
No, we don't, because you'll end up playing lots of games that you're not playing.
Yes. I will. Yeah, but people could gift them to us.
I wouldn't ask people to do that.
Okay, I will. Okay, guys, we will see you in the wilds.
Hi guys, and welcome to the last section, the Interwild section, where we talk about all the stuff that we couldn't fit into other sections, and usually covers off games from outside of Games Workshop, because we fill the rest of our podcast with Games Workshop stuff. Essentially. So today I was going to have we were going to have a chat about my birthday present from Dan, which is the Alien role-playing done by Free League and distributed by Modifius. And it's rather nice. It's what it is. So you got me the starters box, didn't you, Dan?
Yeah, so you should be said that you quite like Alien.
I love Alien. Yeah, Aliens is, in my opinion, one of the best science fiction films ever made. And I think I could strongly argue that against any coming. Really, it's a great film. What I like about it is there's a sense of a broader universe. It's very familiar to us because it feels like our universe.
Mm-hmm.
Things like the Colonial Marines feel like just a sort of generation away almost. But then added into that, you've got these other races, which, of course, over the years have spread out to include things like the Predators. But this book is about Alien, or the aliens, and I haven't found Predators in here yet, but I'm sure in the future they might become a thing. And what I like about the whole thing so far is the artwork and the way it looks. It's just, look at that, Dan.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous. So I spent most of my time just looking at the pictures so far and reading the background on like things. Rather than actually the mechanics of the game, but overall, it looks like a completely different role-playing experience than I have ever played, actually. So I've pretty much only ever done Dungeons and Dragons style stuff, bit of 40k role-play, a bit of Warhammer Fantasy Battle role-play, but very much that kind of high fantasy, high sci-fi, that kind of action-y sort of stuff. This has definitely got action in it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you can play Colonial Marines. Check out that artwork of the Smart Gunner.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah, so you can play the Colonial Marines, but it feels a lot more like it's a horror. It's more about the suspense.
I'd be interested to know, like, whether that is all down to the GM, or is there rules mechanics that allow you to put that suspense in once you get to reading them?
So there's panic. There's a mechanism in there where you have to make panic rolls. So that range from 1 to 6, keeping it together, to 15 plus, you fall into a catatonic state. So yeah, there's dehydration rules in there. There's exhaustion rules. There's loads in here. Absolutely loads. Disease, radiation, and of course there's the xenomorphs. You know, and so it's really cool. The sort of pre-made scenario that comes with the starters kit is the sort of typical thing that you would expect it to be. So you're a ship that receives a distress call and you go to help another ship. And then, of course, I've purposely not read the storyline on that one, in case someone
I
played.
wonder what could be happening on that
but
ship.
I've got a fairly good idea what's going on. Although the enemies in that don't look like typically xenomorph. But yeah, I think this is the sort of role play I could really get on with, because I really like role playing where you don't just, you have to think about what you're going to do, and your actions will have consequences, rather than you just go into a bar and get in a fight and beat everyone, because of course you would do. This is going to be more about, like, if you don't make the skill check to do the technical thing that you're trying to do, it could well be
something could eat you.
This significant problem kind of role playing. And the only thing that I'm thinking of reading it or flicking through it is, I feel like, and this is my kind of lack of experience of role playing coming through, and I would really like if there's dungeon masters out there or players who have played role play that's more horror orientated or suspense orientated, then please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like I could see this being the sort of thing that you could run too spread out, because you'd lose that kind of intensity and suspense. So I think I would probably steer it more towards short scenarios, a kind of design scenario that would typically be like one of the scenarios from the films, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So I don't know, for example, therefore, I don't know whether you level up. It does say there's cinematic play and campaign play, but I can't really. I suppose Ripley would have leveled up from film to film.
That's true.
In fairness, so yeah. So
you turn the corner and find a power lifter. Bing!
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm absolutely in love with the core box. Desperate to play it with people. Really get my teeth into it.
What is it then that draws you to the alien universe?
I think for me, it was the colonial marines initially, and how they were so human, and yet so good at what they did. They were daft. They were, the cracking wisecracks. They felt so well written and acted that they felt like a real military unit. And you really felt, you got the impression that these guys were badasses. They knew what they were doing. They'd done it 1,000 times before, and then they get absolutely shat on. They get completely unpicked by something that they'd never come across. And the first film I watched was Alien, so I had to go back and watch Alien after that, and I watched Aliens probably far too young, to be honest. And the second thing was the aliens were just awesome. They weren't ridiculous. They were they were awesome. They were weird and alien and powerful, and like there's so many like details to them that felt like the person, and it turns out it did, had really thought about them as a creature, as a species from the ground up. They designed this whole sort of ecology around the alien, that a life cycle, as it were, that made sense, and yet still you were asking questions, like from the very word go, that I kind of dislike that they've sort of answered, because part of the mythos for me was that why the hell were they all being stored in the hold of a ship? You know, who were the Elephant Men? Which we now know what they are because of Prometheus, but you know, the world builders. But back then it felt like you were trying to work out whether they were being quarantined or whether they were actually being designed as a weapon, or you didn't really know. You had so many questions, and yet they felt so much like a natural species because in the same way as they were alien, they were also incredibly familiar because they're insects. They look like an insect. And you know, where they got their ideas from for all of that, you could argue that forever. But you know, the artwork of is you know how bad I am for names now, but Geiger's artwork was hugely influential in it. I just think for me, that film, the second one particularly, felt so rounded as a sci-fi film that you couldn't watch any bit of that and not believe that was just around the corner.
Yeah.
You know, the colony felt like it was something that our grandkids could be doing. You know, the Marines felt so close to what we had now that it felt just around the corner. That the space station Gateway looked like an expanded version of the International Space Station. You know, the ship, the Sulaco. This is how sad I am. I know all this stuff. The Sulaco looks like a spaceship that we would make. So when you bring that all together, when I was watching it, it felt like, and what made it so scary, I think, is it felt like that this could genuinely be a future. Whereas things like Star Wars and Star Trek, there's always that, well, I hope it looked like that, or wouldn't it be cool if they were Jedi? Aliens really feels like it could genuinely be our 100-year future or 150-year future. And I think that above everything is what I liked about it. And that everything wasn't shiny and pretty. There was areas that were. So like, you know, the space station is very pretty and shiny and like white and, you know, designed to be comfortable. But then you look at the marine armor and it looks like it had been lived in. You know, there's a lot of films that don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, for a good example, Starship Troopers armor doesn't look like it fits anybody. It flops around all over the place. Their helmets are always jingling and jangling and off their head, whereas the armor that the colonial marines wore, I think, was designed by someone who, you know, quite notable in that kind of respect. It looks like we could release that and issue it to our troopers tomorrow. You know, make it out of the right materials and issue it to them tomorrow. And the way they were wearing their helmets reminded me very much of like Vietnam films, where it clearly works as a thing. It sticks on their head when they're running around, even when the strap's done up or not. It works as a kind of... It worked.
Yeah.
It made sense. Even
it's got that gritty realism, hasn't it?
Yeah. Even the smart gun as a heavy weapon was just so well thought out. I mean, you don't... If you're a mobile infantry unit, what you want is some form of hydraulic system or something that can support a machine gun that can actively track a moving target and put out in excess of 1,000 rounds a minute.
Yeah.
And those guys are carrying them down the corridor like a modern day trooper would carry a, you know, small arms. I think it's. I thought anyway, I could go on about it for ages. But I thought as a sort of film, as an aesthetic, as a background, I'd really, really love it. Which is why I had such a mixed love-hate relationship with Prodos, because they got so close with so much of it, only to fall short at the last mark. Like the scale problems and all that kind of crap just drove me mad. Because why? How did they manage to screw simple things up so much? And they devastatingly wish that they released them as STLs files rather than as miniatures, or as well as miniatures, so that you could sort those scaling problems out.
Yeah.
Yourself. But there we go. So I'm really keen to play this for many, many reasons. Not just because I like Alien, but because I really quite fancy playing a different kind of role-playing game where it's as much about like suspense and horror, and you know, in this I feel like an encounter with the bad guy could go very badly very quickly.
Yes.
If you're not, well, let's, you know, the people, the pre-made characters for the scenario, I've got them here. Love the character sheets. Like, look at that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so look, really good artwork. We've got the captain of the ship, cargo handler, the pilot, the technician, and that's one more, and a company agent, a corporate liaison, who is going to be up to no good, isn't he? Film. You know, so those characters do not include US, you know, Colonial Marine Corps sergeant. They're all just like the guys from the first film.
Mm.
So I can, you know, I can imagine that it's going to be one of those games where you're not going to be running through the doors with your swords up and you're, you know, working out how many defense points your chainmail has, because you're going to make a damn bit of difference. So yeah, I'm dead excited about that. Dead excited.
Good.
And now I'm probably going to buy, because the only difference between that and the hardback rulebook is that the hardback rulebook has about 200 pages extra of background, which I made like.
Right, so you're going to need that, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things as well where I think I don't know what it would be like over Zoom. Hard to get the atmosphere.
Maybe. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, imagine you do it later on in the evening when it's dark. You know, get people to deliberately set up, you know, in a quiet part of the house where it's dark.
Could work, couldn't it?
Yeah. Leave the back. Like, if I was in here with that door open behind me and the only light was coming from the computer.
Yeah. And if you've got Zoom backgrounds,
I would be scared. Shit.
If you've got the right Zoom backgrounds as well.
Yeah.
So then we couldn't even see if someone was sneaking up on you.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I like that idea.
Well, there we go. That's my little bit on that. And as soon as we play a game of it, I'll be sure to sort of fill everyone in on the game mechanics as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before I get terribly distracted with the Dune roleplay book.
Yeah. Cool.
And don't ask me to pick between those two universes, because
no.
Not sure I could.
No. Well, with that in mind, then let's call it a night, I think.
Yeah.
So, if you would like to let people know where we are on social media, Mr. Hall.
Yeah, we can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all at the 2P's podcast. You'll find us, but on that hashtag or at handle. And our next episode will include a special guest as well, which we're very excited about. In 2 weeks' time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time.
Thank you for listening. We hope it's been vaguely interesting. If you've got this far, it certainly must have been. So, well done.
It's a possibility that the French fancies was the highlight.
I think so, yeah. Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.